Greetings and welcome to this NACAC meetup on undergraduate degrees abroad. I am Lindsay Addington, NACAC's Director of Global Engagement. I wanted to introduce you to NACAC's Guide to International University Admission. NACAC has been offering this free resource for 5 years now to help expand students' undergraduate degree options outside of their home country. More than 5 million students pursue tertiary education outside of their home countries, and increasingly more American students are pursuing full degrees abroad. NACAC believes that finding a university that aligns with students' goals, expectations, and financial abilities is critical, and for some, that university may be an international institution. The 2020 guide features education overviews and admission how-tos for 15 countries, from Canada to Germany to Japan and many countries in between. It also includes information about how to utilize U.S. financial aid abroad, options for shorter-term international experiences, international gap years, and more. So how do you know if studying abroad is right for you? Reasons vary as to why students choose to pursue a degree abroad, but counselors have found some common characteristics among those students who find this option a good fit. These may include having a connection in a certain country, being fascinated by other cultures, being very independent, or desiring a more focused course of study from the onset. Other features of an international degree are also appealing to students. For example, in some countries, undergraduate degrees are typically completed in 3 years, and tuition may be much lower when compared to an average US degree. Certainly work with your counselor to discuss goals and expectations for your undergraduate experience and whether a university abroad might be right for you. Keep in mind that as you research international university options, it is likely that it may vary from the admission process with which you are familiar. Based on different academic calendars perhaps, or different admission strategies, deadlines and requirements are likely to vary. And then, of course, there are the visa requirements related to being an international student. It is also likely that for this year at least, changes will have been made to account for the disruptions caused by COVID-19. Please be sure to check institutional and in-country websites to see how processes, requirements, and deadlines have been altered. Virtual visits are pretty much the norm for students interested in international universities, especially those interested in multiple countries. This was the case before COVID-19 and especially now. Take advantage of these options. You will soon be hearing from 2 representatives who will give you an overview of higher education in their respective countries, and then we'll stick around to answer general questions. In addition, there are many international universities who are participating in this virtual fair. Visit their booths or schedule a meeting with them to get all of your questions answered. Thank you for attending this meetup, and I hope you enjoy the fair. If you have questions about the guide or need context from the countries included, feel free to reach out. I'll now be turning things over to our country presenters. Thank you.
Greetings from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. My name is Kaylee Moore, and I'm an international admissions counselor at St. Thomas University, which is Canada's only exclusively liberal arts school. More importantly, I'm originally from the United States and ended up pursuing my bachelor's degree here in Canada, where I've now lived for 10 awesome years. So I'm so glad you're taking the time to watch this presentation. It's very important to start thinking globally when it comes to our education. So why Canada? The main themes that come to mind when thinking about studying in Canada is that it's safe, welcoming, diverse, and affordable. Canada is a federation made up of 10 provinces and 3 territories with a population of roughly 38 million people. Although it's the 2nd largest country for landmass, its population is equivalent to the state of California. So this is why you get that stereotypical Canadians are super friendly and welcoming and polite. Because the communities are a bit smaller, the cities are a bit smaller, but still bustling and exciting and very arts oriented. And diversity is a big component of Canada as well. It is a bilingual country, as most of you probably know, with English and French. You don't need French to come study here though, if that's of concern. Now, most institutions in Canada are publicly funded. So unlike the US with its 4,000 plus colleges, Canada has approximately 100 universities and almost all of them are public, meaning there's consistency, standards, and excellence in education across the nation. So in Canada, all schools offer a unique experience really focused around student fit. So where are you going to thrive and succeed the best, while providing high quality academics. So there's really no bad choice when it comes to choosing a university in Canada. All of the degrees across the country are portable and recognized worldwide. So you can also take your Canadian degree back home to the US. You can stay in Canada like me, or you can continue and go to another country if you get that travel bug while you're here. Now, Canada attracts talented students from around the globe. As you can see, 96% of international students in the country do recommend Canada as a study destination. One of the biggest reasons for this is safety. So you'll see on the side of the slide there that Canada is ranked #1 for best quality of life, #2 safest country in the world, and one of the most peaceful countries in the world as well, second only to Switzerland for safety. So Canadian communities measure very well on the happiness index with excellent employment outcomes. Canada, also known for its healthcare. Each institution in Canada offers students extremely affordable healthcare options to study here. Some provinces even cover the healthcare completely for international students after their first semester. Now, in terms of dormitories and student life, it's very similar to the United States. We have fun residence housing and social events and different traditions on campus, lots of school spirit. Athletics and recreation events are important as well. The divisions are a bit different aside from a few Canadian universities who do participate in the NCAA, but otherwise you'll find a different division structure in Canada. Now, cost and fees is one of the biggest reasons that I ended up looking to Canada as a study destination. I highly recommend you check out different schools across the country. On average, the cost of tuition across all Canadian universities is 24,000 Canadian dollars. This is about 18,000 US dollars per year. So it actually was less expensive for me to study in Canada as an international student than stay in state back home. So my parents couldn't pack me up fast enough, and there were scholarship opportunities available at most Canadian schools that I applied for, as well as financial need bursary awards. And I was able to use my FAFSA at most Canadian schools. They actually accept US student loans and Parent Plus loans. So this makes it really easy to be a US student studying in Canada. Canadian admissions is really based on academic achievement. So that's the most important factor. Most universities are looking at your junior, senior years of your transcript, but some will look at sophomore and freshman year occasionally as well. Canadian schools typically create admission averages based on 5 or 6 of your senior year courses. And when we say senior year courses, we don't always mean that you're taking them in your senior year, but just the 4th level of that course. So again, admission requirements vary by institution and by faculty if you're applying to engineering versus arts, computer science, nursing. For the most part, Canadian schools don't typically require standardized testing. Some do, but many are waiving that requirement this year given COVID. Supplementary information like essays, interviews, auditions may also be required, but again, primarily Canadian admission is simply based on your academic transcript. If you're in an enriched program, A-level, IB, you're taking AP classes, dual enrollment, running start, whatever it may be, most Canadian institutions will also consider you for advanced standing and transfer credit at their schools. Lastly, there's a handful of Canadian institutions that use the Common App. The OUAC is the common application for schools in Ontario that you can use if you're applying to any institution in that province. Otherwise, applying to a Canadian institution, you would just apply directly to that school through their website. Thanks again for attending. My contact information is here.
Hello, I am Maggie Park. I am an American living in Wales in the United Kingdom, and I work for Study in Wales. So I'm part of the group of 8 universities that helps promote Welsh institutions in the United States. We have 8 universities in Wales, and I'm going to take you through, not the 8 universities, but I'm going to take you through just the basics of how this works. What is it like to study in the UK? Why would you consider it as an American student? And then we'll just go through some of the basic entry requirements and things like that that might be helpful for you. For me, it was all about location. I just wanted to live in North Wales. I read these books when I was little that took place here, and it's magical. It looks like Narnia out my window. I stayed for academics and cost. So those are the main points that I'll walk you through. But let's start with where we are. So we're in the United Kingdom. We're that bit in red. We are part of the UK, which is England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. I'm about 3 hours to London on a direct train. It's about 2 hours to London from South Wales, about an hour and a half to Manchester, and actually about an hour and a half to Dublin on the ferry, so we can pop over to Dublin for the day if we want. For the US, it's about a 7-hour flight to the East Coast, and it's about a 10-hour flight to the West Coast. So while it does sound far away and crazy to think about international education sometimes, when you think of it in terms of hours, it's not that massive. I used to live in Pennsylvania, and I went to university in Virginia, and that was a 6-hour drive. Now I fly 7 hours to come here. So that's where we are. It's a bit about the country itself. Entry requirements, will come back to this, but I wanted to pop them on the same slide so you can see that we're looking for what American students would expect us to look for. We're looking for your grades, we're looking for your SATs or ACTs, and then we're looking for examples of upper level education. The main rundown that's helpful for you to know are these 4 points: shorter degrees, affordable, excellent location, safety and health, and then excellent academics. So like I said, I came for location, I stayed for academics and cost. I mean, you can just see from these 2 pictures, location is stunning. There's loads of national parks. The cities are really fun, but very accessible. They're not too big, really easy to get to London, but I don't have to pay to live in London. I'm physically in a national park, which is quite fun. Makes for a good quality of life and good weekend excursions. Main reason I stuck around was cost, but it was also the academic structure. For undergraduate degrees, it's 3 years for a bachelor's degree and 1 year for a master's. So in 4 years, you can have a master's degree that transfers back to the US equally, whereas in the US, that would take 6 or 7 years to complete. So most of our US students do plan on doing that 3-year undergrad and then adding on a 1-year master's. So a little bit different way to think about it. The reason it's shorter is because we don't do gen eds in the United Kingdom. In England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, we don't do general education requirements. So you need to know what you want to study, but you're applying directly to a program on your application, and that's all you're going to study. So if you want to study creative writing, you don't have to take a science class. You don't have to take a French class. You don't have to pay to take a gym class to get those credits. It's just your subject. You can do all those other things for personal interest, but your major is your major. So it's very focused. So because of that, we're done in 3 years. But again, it's an equivalent to a degree in the US. And master's is 1 year for the same reason. So it's just a much more focused degree. I stayed for cost. It's incredibly affordable. The schools I was looking at in the US were $45,000 to $50,000 a year. And the school I ended up at was about $11,000 a year. And then there were lots of scholarships, and a number of institutions are FAFSA approved, so you can use US federal loans to pay for your degree overseas as well. So yes, I was in debt at the end of my degree, but I was in debt about, I don't know, $55,000, $60,000 at the end of a PhD. I was okay with that. That was what 1 year would have cost me back in the US. And again, I get to live in Narnia, so it was okay with me. So yeah, really affordable and really low cost of living. Wales is significantly lower living costs than most of the UK, which makes for a very high quality of life. There are also a lot of scholarships, and most are GPA based. So depending on what your grades are, you'll get more of funding from your institution. We also accept a lot of scholarships from the United States. So if you look around for, you know, the Rotary Club, Optimist, Lions Club, things like that, most of them don't have country restrictions. So you can use those to study overseas. All of the institutions in Wales have extremely high reputations, world-class institutions, top-ranking programs. And international experience is now becoming one of the key factors that employers are looking for when they're hiring new people to join their teams. So having this opportunity to go overseas, expand your horizons, learn different systems, how things work, really employable option, and a really positive life experience. Also with Employable, we have a lot of programs that will do work study included in your degree. So you'll have the option to do an internship or work experience during your degree to really get that industry exposure. So you know what things are like in the world that you're looking to enter, and you're not graduating without any of that experience under your belt. Also just helpful to note access to the NHS and quality of life and health and safety and all that. The NHS is the National Health Service, so all healthcare in the UK would be free after you pay your visa fees to come over. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of positives to consider this. Affordable travel, low crime rate, high quality of life, all that good stuff. The main thing that I would say that you should focus on is look at the location and look at the course. If you like those things, inquire or apply. It's free to apply to most institutions, so give it a whirl. I hope that whet your appetite and piqued your interest. If you are interested in more information, I would love to have a chat with you. There's my contact details, and yeah, hope to hear from you soon.